finally getting his turn with the Tuneup treatment after a 3-year-long hiatus of wondering just when or if he'd come back. It is the first model of the Digimon collaboration, DGM00 Omega Knight, regraded, with a kit of Dominion, Hyperbeam, Beam Sword, biped legs, and the leg ability of Auto Charge, which passively charges Metaforce Gauge every turn an action is completed. Now, as the very first model introduced in the collaboration, there was actually a little history behind Omega Knight, and that's the fact that he started initially as an art collaboration between the Digimon and Medarot's main artists, but simply passed off as nothing more. Then, in 2021, April Fool's, there he comes as a brand new model ready to drop and ready to fight in the realm of Robattle, and has been a wonderful addition and mascot of all the collaborations that Medarot has made friends with ever since. Dominion on the head part is basically a very powerful and souped up support skill that guarantees that it will be changing all leg types terrain to A rank from himself and all allies across the board, and is an immensely powerful ability at that. Basically, with the ability of Dominion, this is what guarantees that he and all allies on the field will have the absolute perfect mastery on any terrain that they're fighting on. And in addition, Dominion also behaves like radar sight, which means it'll grant a 50% boost to success of himself and all allies across the team. Additionally, that boost to radar sight also means that he will negate any stealth or conceal effects of the enemy side. So not only can he outright change his and his allies' leg terrain matching, but also boost the success rate to guarantee hits are more likely to land and be immensely powerful on top of that. Right arm of Hyperbeam on the Garuru cannon is a very powerful optic attribute skill that gets a ×2 damage bonus at 30% charge and a ×3 damage bonus at 100% charge, making it an immensely powerful long-range option that Omega Knight has at his disposal. Inversely, on the left arm of Beam Sword with the Gray Sword is Beam Sword, which, much like Hyperbeam, gets a ×2 damage bonus at 30% charge and a ×3 at 100%. So basically this means that whether you choose to use Hyperbeam or Beam Sword, Omega Knight has the ultimate mastery on all terrains when it comes to charge sustain and charge related mastery and combat. He can get in close, he can stay afar, and be just as painful and catastrophic no matter which way he chooses to go. Biped legs also mean he has very solid coverage across all terrains very remarkably well, and the leg ability of Auto Charge synergizes incredibly with his kit as a whole. Basically, for every action completed, even if it's just charging Metaforce, he gets an additional about 10% or so on top of that added to his Metaforce gauge. So no matter what he chooses to use, he's building energy over time, which thus feeds into Hyperbeam or Beam Sword incredibly well. Now, it is also worth noting that as of 2024, with the rerun of the Digimon collaboration, Omega Knight also received an all-stat boost to bring him back up to par with all the other models in the competitive meta that has far left him behind, sadly. So he's raring to go not just from the outlook of being able to be tuned up, but also even just his base stats makes him even more of a menace than he was before, and an absolute hero to any team he's put on. Now, when it comes to his tune-up bonuses, however, he really doesn't change anything too terribly compared to what he had before, but with what he is capable of tuning up makes him a very powerful force to be reckoned with, whether he plays a support role or a hybrid fighting role. His head has the opportunity to upgrade 200 points to armor, 50 points to heat and cold respectively, or he can get a super success bonus at 120% of success and change the terrain mastery from A rank to S rank across the board. Now, this is basically just a mix-up between the field control tune-ups and the radar sight tune-up, so it really is no expectation and math that Dominion would get the same treatment. And that alone makes it the absolute must-have bonus that you want to push for when upgrading Omega Knight, because that alone means you're going to be firing off critical hits like nobody's business, you're almost never going to miss, and you're going to be a master on any terrain you're put on no matter what, as long as you're able to fire that off successfully. After you manage to unlock that bonus, you could probably go for armor or heat and cool relatively easily and go either direction, but I would probably push for the higher armor just for the sake of having it on hand, because it does mean more survivability in the long run. The right and left arms honestly have almost the exact same bonuses across the board, with very minor changes between the two of them, but they have the opportunity to earn 200 in armor, plus 100 success for Hyperbeam, or rather for both arms, and they also have the opportunity to earn an extra 100 points in power relative to what you're looking for. Additionally, they can also earn a 20% charge reduction requirement in the charge required to unlock their passives and their extra damage bonuses. So this means that instead of charging to say 30% and 100% in order to access that ×2 and ×3, now you only need 10 and 80 in order to do it successfully. And get this, one turn of auto charge guarantees you 10% no matter what, so that means your next turn you're guaranteed that minimum ×2 no matter what, for pretty much no action required whatsoever. So that being said, that honestly is going to be a very important bonus that you want to try to push for in order to unlock those bonuses faster. Additionally, I would honestly push for the power bonus for the same reason, because whatever the base power is what gets the multiplier when it's unlocked. So if you already have, say, plus 100 more to your power, well, that means ×2 of that new bonus and ×3 of that new stat are what you're going to get as your final result, and not any other modifiers. If you choose to go after Omega Knight in a more auxiliary kind of role, I guess you can call it, for more overall balance, you could go for armor or success moderately well and not really go wrong either way. For his legs, he has the opportunity for 300 to armor, 300 each to his melee and his shoot resist. Auto charge will gain an additional 8% bonus to the base when triggering, and of course S rank on grassland. Now, being completely honest, Omega Knight's legs were honestly something I had a lot of trouble trying to decide on the best required recommended bonuses on, because he's got some really good ones, and even factoring in his new stat boost that he's getting to bring him up to speed even before Tuneup, he can honestly go a lot of different directions and not really go wrong. Ultimately, I would recommend absolutely going after the auto charge bonus so that you get that extra 8%. So instead of getting, say, 10% per bonus, per turn, you're getting now 18, almost 20%, which will stack up quite quickly once those turns start clocking. But if you decide that you really don't need that and that 8% just isn't worth it to you, you could instead go for the melee and the shoot resist at 300 each. And might I say, that is also incredibly noticeable. This means that while he's already going to be pretty stocky in terms of reducing damage while he's on the field, that extra 300 is going to be incredibly noticeable and make it a lot harder to cut this Omega Knight down to size. You could honestly go for armor as well as you need, but I'm not going to push for it because he's already pretty chunky across the board with armor. And the terrain, S rank on grassland is nice, but that extra 10% really isn't going to make or break you if your team is built well enough. So it's not really something you want to focus on as well. Now, factoring in Omega Knight's original pure set and mixed parts scores, for his incredible synergy as a very solid charge-reliant fighter, I did rate him very easily at a 9 out of 10 across the board. For very solid synergy as a kit, as pure set and mixed parts, you can use him anywhere very easily and not really go wrong. And taking into account his new tune-up bonuses, I really couldn't find any other way to describe it. I couldn't find anything to hold against him in terms of his new stat boosts or his tune-up bonuses. I really can't find anything negative to say. I really truly can't. Very easily, factoring in his new stat boost and his tune-up bonuses, I very proudly and very confidently have to rate Omega Knight a 10 out of 10 and a must-have model for any Meta-Rodder in their libraries. So if you've missed him the first time, definitely make sure you capitalize on earning him this next time around. And if you already have Omega Knight, well, you're going to have a very powerful force to be reckoned with that'll certainly make his mark on the field anytime he's called to battle.